Have you ever just stopped and noticed how loud everything is? Not just out in the world, but even in our own homes. It's like there's this constant soundtrack we're all expected to have running. Well, we're going to dive into why some people are hitting the mute button on all that. Yeah, this quote from writer Lachlan Brown just nails it, doesn't it? You walk into a friend's house and it's buzzing with noise, but then you go home and it's just quiet. Not in a bad way, just peaceful. And that's what gets you thinking, right? Is loving the quiet just a weird personality quirk, like putting pineapple on pizza? Or does it actually point to something deeper going on psychologically? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. First, let's explore the 4 traits that are all about your inner landscape. You know, how you handle your thoughts, your focus, and that all-important energy. All right, first up, trait number 1. This is all about how you manage your most valuable and probably most limited resource, your own energy. If you're someone who craves silence, you probably have a really good sense of your own internal battery. Think about it. After a long day of meetings, phone notifications, and just people, your nervous system is fried. All that sound, even if it's music you love, is just one more thing your brain has to process. So choosing silence? It's not about being antisocial. It's a smart strategy to stop the drain. Okay, on to trait number 2. This one is all about how your brain is wired to work, and it's really about depth versus breadth. So the key idea here is something called cognitive cost. Every single time you switch your attention, say from an email you're writing to a song lyric to a bit of a podcast, your brain pays a little price. It has to stop and refocus. Silence just wipes that cost right off the board. It lets you go deep and get fully lost in one thing, which is so much more satisfying than juggling a million inputs. All right, let's get into trait number 3. This one's a little different. It's less about managing energy and more about a kind of heightened perception of what's going on inside you. I love this analogy. Think of silence as turning up the volume on your own internal microphone. When you get rid of all that background static, you start to hear the quiet stuff, that little flicker of anxiety, the tension creeping into your shoulders, even just the fact that your posture is slumping. And when you can catch those things early, you can fix them before they become big problems. And that leads us right into the 4th and final trait for this section. This is really about shifting from being a passive consumer to an active, intentional curator of your life. Now, this is super important. This is not about hating music or podcasts. Not at all. It just means you use them on purpose. You're not just mindlessly filling the empty space with noise. It's the difference between just grazing on whatever content is in front of you versus carefully choosing what you invite into your mind. Sound becomes a specific tool, not just background wallpaper. Okay, so we've looked at the inner world. Now let's shift gears and look at the next 4 traits, which are all about how this preference for quiet shapes how you show up in the world around you. Okay, jumping into the next set with trait number 5. And honestly, this is a skill that is getting seriously rare in our always-on, buzzing world. Equanimity. It's kind of a big word, but the idea is simple. It's the ability to just be with whatever is happening right now, without that frantic reflex to grab your phone or flip on the TV. If you're already comfortable in a quiet home, you're building this muscle. And let me tell you, that skill builds incredible resilience to stress and lets you make decisions with a much clearer head. All right, trait number 6. This one hits close to home, literally. It's all about authenticity and what your home really represents. Here's something you might not have thought about. The noise in our homes can be, well, a bit of a performance, right? We put on a playlist to create a certain vibe. But silence? It has zero performative value. It doesn't need to be anything. It's just you. It turns your home into a real sanctuary, a place where you can finally stop managing an identity and just exist. And you know, this whole idea of dropping the performance, it flows perfectly into our 7th trait, which is all about getting really honest with yourself emotionally. Think about it this way. Music and other distractions can sometimes smudge the edges of a tough feeling, making it fuzzy and easier to ignore. Silence does the exact opposite. It's like cleaning your glasses. Suddenly, that emotion is in sharp focus. It might be uncomfortable for a second, but it's the only way you can actually understand it and deal with it. And here we are, the last one, number 8. This is all about protecting your single most valuable asset in today's world. Your attention is the currency of your life. You can't achieve anything, create anything, or connect with anyone in a meaningful way without it.
Choosing silence is like putting up a velvet rope around that resource. You're saying, my focus is valuable, and I'm not just giving it away to the loudest thing in the room. You know when sound helps, and you definitely know when it's just stealing your focus.
So, if all of this is resonating with you, if you're sitting there nodding along, the big question is, what do you do with it? How do you lean into this strength without, becoming a hermit? Well, here are 5 quick ideas. First, create sound profiles. Know which tasks, like deep work, need silence, and which ones, like folding laundry, are great with a podcast. Second, design little micro-quiet pockets in your day. Even 5 minutes of silence in your car after a meeting can be a total reset. Third, remember to use music as medicine, not wallpaper. Use it intentionally. Fourth, before you automatically hit play on something, just check in with yourself. Ask, do I need more stimulation right now, or do I just need some space? And finally, if you sit in silence and feel restless, don't run from it. That's the quiet doing its job. Just let it work. So let's wrap this up with a really important takeaway. If you love a quiet home, there's nothing wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're antisocial or weird or too sensitive. It just means you're tuned in. Because in a world that is constantly screaming for a piece of your attention, the ability to find, create, and appreciate quiet, that's not just a preference, it's an absolute superpower.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Now that you recognize this quiet advantage in yourself, this isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. How are you going to use it?